Hello and welcome to Lister LD1 restoration part 4 now. And as you can see, I got the block here, and as you saw in part 3 I did degrease the block. You see I still got to wait for the, as it is winter, some of the parts washing fluid ain't quite come off it yet, it just evaporates is what it does. So I just leave it dry off and it should be ready to paint strip. While I do that, I just run an hand grinder over it, cover up the holes and then pump here. I don't want to take it off to knock all the shims, that's why I put that bolt back on there, so it's all pretty safe and secure. You come on the back here, see, just wait for it all to dry up. It's a bit wet here still, not too bad. So that got rid of all the old oil that's in it. Yeah, the same sort of underneath. Clean that up so when we put it on the trolley for testing the trolley, it won't mark it up. You see in there the oil pump. Go, that's the cotton rod that just fell over. In there, all clean that blackness is where the paint, that bit there. Some of that blackness is to do with the paint on the bottom of this here. That's just come off and left the bare metal oil pump, counterweights, all that sort of stuff. Oh, it's a very well made engine, I think, because this here is still pretty heavy. All this is all a heavy unit still, so what I'll do now is I'm just gonna paint it up once I continue on and paint it up. Well, I'm not gonna paint it up at the moment, I'm just gonna strip the paint off first. Strip the paint off and go from there. Shouldn't be long now, so hopefully we'll be able to start paint stripping, maybe hopefully in this part or next part, so we'll see. Also, jobs I want to do is finish off degreasing and grinding the valves, so I'm going to grind the valves in. I think first job is clean the valves and grind them up, so I'll get ready. As you see, this is me trying to clean the inlet valve up. Not too bad, I've just gently just tapped the sandpaper, it cleaned up okay. So I haven't done anything to the valve yet, believe it or not, but as you can see, it's the inlet valve, so they don't get particularly too dirty. But what I do is, usually you put them in a pillar drill and turn it, and it's like so. But I don't have a pillar drill at the moment, so well there is one, we've got one, but it's just not too hand at the moment. So what I've done is, I've just put it in this battery cordless drill, just turn it, and it just turns the valve. You put a piece of sandpaper on it, that there cleans up all the faces and everything. So the stem doesn't look too bad, so I won't worry about that too much. I'll just clean up all this end. It's not too bad at all. That then ready for cleaning it up. So I'll do this. Alright, here you can see we've got the exhaust valve now. Cleaned up the inlet. So this one here is the exhaust. A bit worse. Well, a lot worse, but it's exhaust valve, so you're going to have carbon on this side and on the back as well, because you've got all the fumes. It's pretty grimy, but it's seen a lot worse. The CS was for starters, but this is just like stubborn stuff, so we're just going to sandpaper, clean it up, and go from there. So I'll show you when it's all cleaned up. This one you see a more noticeable difference. As you can see here, I cleaned up the valve now. That's the exhaust valve, all cleaned up, believe it or not. Cleaned up very well, didn't take long to clean up. So it's all looking very good. So what I'm going to do now is just stick them in the head now. So remember which way round they go now, because you can't tell anymore, because one's not both the same colour. So what I want to do now is I'm going to grease not grease, but put a bit of oil on the slide, and then grind them in. I'll give them probably a quick fine or a coarse and a fine. So we'll go from there. Okay, as you can see now I've got the valves ready. What I'm now going to do is grind them in, lap them in, grind them in, whatever you want to call it. So I'm going to do the inlet first. And the way you really tell on a listed LD, I don't know about the bigger ones. Inlet's like an oval shape, and the outlet is a circular shape. As you see, I suppose because narrower entrance here, the gases are hot and they've expanded, so it requires a bigger exit. But then again, the valves are the same size, so I don't know, it's probably just the way it is to make it easier for the exhaust manifold and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to now lap them in. So I'll do that. I can't really show you what to do because I haven't got my tripod with me, so I'm sorry about that. But if you look at my Wolsey restoration, you'll see a little how to grind in valves. Same for diesel and petrol engines. So yeah, I'll continue on grinding these valves. Oh, here you can see I've ground in one valve now. Spent about 5 minutes doing that, I suppose. Shouldn't not much longer than that. You see what they look like really before you grind them in and after. You got this nice, not shiny as such, but it's like a dull metallic-y grey silver ring around the valve instead of a shiny. See a different shiny, not shiny. There's a valve seat, all cut. You see a dull line instead of a shiny line, as you can see. So yeah, I'll just knock the valve down there on the floor, pick that up now. Yeah, so I'll grind in this other valve now. Right, as you can see here, I've got all the valves now ground in. Exhaust valve is looking brilliant. The exhaust valve seat, no cutting there needed. All nice lovely line. Same again here. We've got a nice lovely seat on the exhaust valve as well. Don't know if you can see that very well, but yep, all very good. Same with the inlet, all ready to go. So I'll just give those a quick clean in the parts washer. And the head again. Well, I may not bother about the head actually, because that will just stay like that. Then I'll give it a good I'll start, well, not really a lot left to do apart from paint strip, so I think I'll start paint stripping. Best thing to do. I'll paint strip some pieces. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, another thing I thought I'd show you is I cleaned up the injector as well last night. This here, this grilled piece, I think part of the injector is actually the injector sleeve. And they said when you remove the injector, that bit may come out with the injector, and obviously it did with this one. It says you can remove it to clean the injector nozzle, but as it all works and it all seems to be as the engine did run on it, I shall leave it as it is, because it's not a very big job to whip the injector out anyway. So it's only like about 5 bolts you undo and it's out, you know what I mean? So rocker box, 2 injector clamps and the injector pipe, and just lever it out, maybe 6 for the leak off and it's out. But we don't want to, hopefully you don't want to take it out. Inject the nozzle itself. Yeah, there you go. It's a pintle type injector, so I assume it's just like it's a direct line. I think I'll look it up probably and tell you. But it fires into the recess on top of the piston. It probably sits in the head about that sort of angle, maybe. Just injects into it pretty much. So yeah, I shall continue work now. I'll probably start paint stripping the block. So I'll show you what. Okay, now I'm going to strip the paint off the block. So what I use, as you see here, is the angle grinder with wire brush, and that just hacks away at the paint pretty much. Just flakes it all off. And all I say when using this is wear eye protection. Oh, and a mask as well. If it's really dusty, prefer to do this outside also because the dust just gets everywhere. But wear eye protection is a must, because these wires, bits of flakes of paint, and if you've got a rusty engine, rust as well will flake off and hit you in the face, and be honest, that's not pretty, especially if you go blind. It only takes a split second before you know you're blind, so that's my little health and safety warning over. On the lighter note, we're just going to use this and just going to pretty much just rip the paint off, pretty much just rips it off. Better than nitromorse, but I'll see what I can use for the aluminium, for being a bit of a softer metal. I might practice on a little bit of aluminium somewhere with a bit of paint on it just to protect it. Also just cover up all the ports on the ejector pump with a bit of masking tape or insulation tape, stop rubbish going into there. And yeah, so I'll go from there. So I'll show you when I've done a little bit. As you can see, you might not be able to see from here, but if we get close I'll show you. Yeah, I've started to remove majority of the paint. The paint's well, I've done all I can with this one, which I'm surprised actually how much I've done with it, because it's such a, I only ever really strip paint on the Wolseley block and it was just very flat. This one here is like you got all the ridges and all that sort of stuff. There's like all these little nooks and crannies in here. I'm going to use a flat one to get as much of it off as I can, then I'll probably use a screwdriver to really get the rest of it out. Yeah, I'm quite surprised how much came off, you know what I mean. It's actually quite hardened on there, I must admit. Majority of it, some bits just went chunk, 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 chunk. Loads of chunks came hurtling off, and others were just quite stubborn, got really tight, hard patches. Down here, there was absolutely, well, there's about a paint line up to about there, maybe. Because all this here has been in the muck at the bottom of the engines, you know, like, I don't know, farms, or... This one here, we're pumping water in St. Buryan. What's it called? First and last garage it went to in Land's End, I believe. I got it somewhere. But yeah, so this is the it painted up to here. So obviously it got a bit mucky, water and all that sort of stuff. So this engine was only put out of service because, according to the last owner, it died due to it was bought seized non-running. It was died of a. Well, it didn't seize up and like it didn't just get put out of use. It actually coked itself up that much. He said the exhaust port only had a 1/16 of an inch hole for the exhaust gases to travel through. So I think that I found that pretty unbelievable, really. 1/16 of a gap hole. Yeah. The next time you see a powder coat diesel, think of this thing, 1/16. But back on topic about paint stripping, just need to do a little bit here, I'll go over this place up here with a wire wheel just to clean all that up and get that good for the new gasket and paint and all that sort of stuff. Same here, all the fuel pump linkages and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to continue on with that, I suppose. Get that all looking good. So yeah, I'll continue on. Well, actually I'm quite surprised now. I've done that a lot quicker than I thought I would. So I thought I'd be a day and a half, a few trips after school doing this. It was actually, well, still the odd bit, but actually it's all pretty much done. If I see any more I'll just probably do it, but I'd say the majority of that is done now. So I'm quite pleased about now. It's all done. This one here will just be going in the parts washer, clean up all the dust, leave it dry off, and then it'll be ready for the paint. It'll be etch primer probably, because I'll use on the aluminium, so you might as well use it what you got it. I think it's alright for steel, but I might double check, or use some sort of like zinc primer or whatever. And out there should be then the block done. So now there's no going back now. It's not going to be oily rag anymore. It's definitely going to be. I was umming and ahhing, but I slept on it and I was like, right, it's going to be painted. So this is it. So now I'll probably do the flywheel, fuel tank, and go from there. Then I'll do the flywheel next. Right then, here's the flywheel. As you see, this is probably the last time you'll see it now with its original paint on. So I'm going to take all the paint off now and clean up the faces. I think there should be a rotation arrow on here, but I can't find no trace of one. So I think all this has been taken off before by an owner or something, so it might reveal something, you never know. Blue line is what I put on there for timing the injector pump on it. So yeah, so we're going to clean it up now and go from there. Shouldn't take too long because there's not very much paint on it. Just awkward places to get at. So yeah, I'll go start